we're just, aha, it is recording. Awesome. So my name is Lyra, and this is Nathan, and he's going to be in charge of this meeting. And today we are meeting with AJ, and I can't see
Geert.
your name. I'm sorry.
Geert is the name.
What? How do you pronounce your name?
Geert. Geert.
On January 12th, 2021, and from ThreeFold, we're doing a tech meeting here. So this is not my field. This is more Nate's field. And so I'm going to let him be in charge.
I've been architecting how a lot of these different pieces can come together, researching, and we've been networking socially and physically. From what we've learned from you guys so far, you guys are awesome.
We want to see how you mesh. We can work together.
Did you guys get an opportunity to read through any of the documentation and info that we dropped in there?
Sorry, I didn't hear you because we hear you very well. This is we understand, but you're a bit too far from the microphone, I think.
Yes, I also didn't hear that clearly.
I'll try to zoom in a little bit.
Oh, that's better.
Get a chance.
There we go.
Did you guys get a chance to read up on any of the documentation that we dropped in the Telegram chat?
Well, yeah, I went through it, but it seems like a collection of how would I say, of technology stacks. But I think it's better that you explain what you're doing, and I'll try to reread them afterwards. That sounds better to me to well understand.
Oh, as far as the technology goes, just research for what's most applicable for today's time. And it seems like you guys might be a little bit ahead of that, or you could just go ahead and wipe a lot of that out. Not quite?
Go for it, Geert.
Well, not really, but I mean, yeah, well, we're not on the developer side, we're more in the system side, really down the bits and bytes. And this is why front end wise, we're not that more advanced than you guys, I guess. But I think, yeah, down there on operating system level, and we've made the techniques in order to make everything really private, hacker-proof, secure, etc. And you can build things pretty easily on top of in ways that are pretty common nowadays in the IT industry with containers, etc. But basically, you can run everything. And what we really like to develop is like peer-to-peer applications, meaning that applications where us among friends or contacts can talk to each other, and without a big Facebook or Google looking over a shoulder to look at everything that we discuss and take benefit of it in the form of advertising, profit, etc. So this is not what we want to have. We want to have like an environment where everybody on the internet is equal, basically, and is able to communicate in all freedom without oligopolies taking benefit of anything. This is our main core.
Yeah. And I think, to reiterate just again what Geert was saying, is the fact that if you've got an application and you're busy developing whatever that application looks like, and you're saying, well, I want to be able to run this on as many different countries in a way that I don't, or everybody doesn't actually collect each other's information to the extent that you exploit one another, I think that that's kind of where this technology is actually at. And I think if you're saying, I want to be able to connect with the guy down the road as much as I want to connect with the guy, in the same way I want to connect with the guy that's sitting in Australia or in New Zealand or in Europe or in Africa somewhere, and you've got those building blocks for the application, we'd be able to provide you the platform to be able to run that application. Given the fact that yes, we use I want to say open standards in terms of open source stuff type technology. So your Kubernetes, your containers, so things like Jumpscale, which is a fairly common type containerized platform. You could run Linux or any Linux or even .NET Core type applications as well.
Say any Linux IT workload can be run, and basically it's because the operating system, it has still the Linux kernel in it. We didn't build that one. I mean, that is a piece of software that we didn't want to touch, but everything around it we rebuilt from scratch, let's say. We have the storage side, in which every all data is described in like the descriptive way. I don't know whether you've read about it. So let's say I have a phone number or whatever. Let's say I want to store somewhere 100, 200 to make it simple. Then I split up the data. Well, I don't split up the data. I create, let's say, equations from it. On one node, I say A plus B equals 300. If in my mind, I put A equals 100, B equals 200. On a second node, probably owned by another farmer, by another hardware owner, I put 2 times A minus B equals 0. And these two equations together, with that, you can reconstruct AB equals 100, 200. But if you want to have some overhead, for example, some extra redundancy in case node A falls down, you can create on the third node A plus 2 times B equals 500. And then with B and C only, you can continue. And yeah, in a way that a hacker basically, well, even when he goes and finds the hard drive of that of farmer number B, well, he sees A plus 2 times B equals 500, but what does it say? It doesn't say anything about the
actual data.
Actual data.
Yeah.
And next to that, in the operating system, there's also the network that's fully encrypted, with every and it's kind of a subnet of the internet that we have, and we can make connections to the outside world through what we call web gateways. But in essence, as long as you don't establish from the inside that connection, then you're fully in that fully private environment.
Fully, yeah.
You disconnect completely the hardware from the data where it's being stored. And we believe that this is a way, on one hand, to make everything private, but B, also to make cloud capacity far more democratic. So you can, I have a box in my basement. I mean, it's not that complicated. I plug it into the internet. I put it in electricity. One time I register myself as that I am the owner of that box, and that's it. And I don't have to do anything anymore. I mean, it's also an operating system that has no shell, that has no operating screen. I mean, I don't have anything to do with that, the data that is residing on it. So I shouldn't have.
I think also the other thing is also when you look at it, I mean, we've currently got quite a bit of capacity sitting on the ThreeFold Grid. So we can send you a link to show you what capacity is currently available in terms of the actual ThreeFold Grid across the globe. But that effectively means that you guys can decide you want to purchase infrastructure with the ThreeFold platform on it, and you can put it anywhere. And you can have everybody else that you want to have participate. So the advantage of that is that you get paid for having that you pay for the tin, but when somebody uses it, you also get paid for that capacity that individual uses, or whether you use it or not. So if you add it to the ThreeFold Grid, yes, it is part of your infrastructure. You don't know what's physically on it, but effectively what happens is that you then become a participant in the ThreeFold community by having secure infrastructure in a decentralized manner available to anyone and everyone. So when you develop your applications on it, you can effectively go and say, okay, this is my template, this is what I want to build. And if somebody wants to use your application, you can then publish that recipe or that template to those individuals, and they can then get that capacity off the ThreeFold Grid, or they can buy a ThreeFold tin infrastructure and run it off their own one in the same way that Geert and I actually just procured the infrastructure, plug it in and make it available on the grid.
That's awesome. This is really exciting stuff, guys.
Yeah. So explain to us, what is it that you guys are doing? Because I mean, I've seen you guys on the world, I think it's called the World Tribe in terms of grid and in terms of Telegram group. But what is it that you guys actually do?
You guys met with David Elams for Open World Alliance, correct?
Yes.
And
well,
Ruby?
yeah, some of our guys did it.
Yeah. He's got a program he wants to start up for like Titans Academy, teaching coding for kids and intermesh it with yoga. We're in line with that. We're coming from things with a hero-centric stance as kind of like a flagship. What would reality really look like if we took examples from science fiction and our history and applied it to today, learning from those examples, like Star Trek Enterprise and the Federation, the Federation's Academy and everything, right? I'm sure you guys have personally delved into different aspects of education.
Yes.
Yes. So we know then when we apply failing forward methodology and make it interesting and fun, make it acceptable and encouraging people to go ahead and fail in order to learn from the mistakes and what works and what doesn't. It's very, very powerful, just on a very personal level. When we're able to capitalize on that, building a relationship and a rapport with those people, it's like using mustard for glue as opposed to Gorilla Glue or super glue, right?
Yes.
There's a huge difference. Increasing that level of magnetism and attraction for people and how they interoperate with each other. So that is the general nuts and bolts of Great Works Alliance, where our MVP is built off of positive psychology and functional psychology, where we're taking those functional methodologies that we know work, that build people up with the least amount of detriment, as well as the core attributes, whatever labels we want to apply to them. We all know inherently, without even being taught anything, that we have strengths and different kinds of sparks within us that we can capitalize on. And in different cultures, we acknowledge them differently, but they're all essentially coming down to character strengths. And we all want a piece of the pie. We want our voice heard. We want to be engaged. We want to be involved. And we want our voice to matter. That's kind of the whole concept of holacracy and democracy and sociocracy, where we're all converging through these different cultures and methodologies. It basically all boils down to a balance. What is balanced? And that from what we've been able to locate and identify so far, open to interpretation and, you know, break down and build up, is the golden rule. Let's
Yes.
come to each other as friends with
Mm.
acknowledgement. I'm not coming to you as a foe. I'm not coming to attack
Yes.
you. I have
Yes.
a spirit of intent of friendship and collaboration to work together, even if it's not perfect. Like,
Yes.
you're going to have your own interpretation or lens of how to look at something, and AJ is going to have his own interpretation and lens of interpreting, and the whole goal is to meet in the middle with some flexibility and listening to each other,
Yes.
actually hearing them, validating the value that they bring, and then
Yes.
coming together and go, oh, hey, guess what? I found this worked or doesn't work, and this does and doesn't work. Let's use this together to figure out, okay, what's our ballast?
Mm.
Come to a common
Sorry, we can't hear you, Lyra.
sorry, and
Did-
how we mesh together and come to a common understanding of language, because everybody has their own inflections, their own understanding of definitions in language, and there's a lot of language barriers. Like, I speak Lyra. I also speak Nate. I'm good at translating Nate, but you know, it's like there's some. I speak Spanish. I speak English. I speak a little Latin. You know, if we can get on to some common ground and common understandings in correlating that we're all wanting gratitude, you know, and have gratitude for things, that we have gratitude and understanding and compassion and consideration, and we recognize that in others. We want to be able to recognize that on a tangible level here, because it gives people more incentive to continue acting in a positive growth manner, whatever their culture is.
So one way we're applying that.
So from a technology perspective, how does that translate in terms of, you know, what you're talking about? How does that translate back to a technology, and why you think ThreeFold is geared and looking at that and opening up that space for you?
Our interpretation is you guys are looking at things very similar or akin to Lego blocks. You're using Docker and Kubernetes. That's how they essentially operate, right?
But
Yes.
I have in mind even a few things more, because when I hear your story, it's like, well, your identity, the identity of everyone working together, each individual being different, but well, in a communication with others, each one has their own way of interacting. I think
Yes.
the ThreeBot idea and the digital twin and the crystal
Yes.
twin will be important. Well, this is something, well, we have the foundations for it, but basically, you know what the ThreeBot is?
Yes, I poked around learning a little bit about ThreeBot. Tell me more.
Yeah, well, ThreeBot basically, well, technically it's very boring. It's a public-private key pair. So basically it means that you have full control over your digital life. That's the essence of what ThreeFold is. It's so you have the digital keys to run any workload, any program, any application that you want. And there's no one else that has control over it.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically the basic idea around ThreeBot. There's a lot of technicality behind it, but when you take that and then you start, there's also you can write programs to do interaction with others, of course. Like, well, yeah, we know a lot about them, but the Facebook's, well, social media apps, but it's Facebook that wants us to do that interaction in the way that they want it.
Yeah, no
Here
go.
we could build, like, for example, a social media app where I share elements with my friends and only with them. And I do banking only with the bank that I am choosing. And the data is staying under the control of my ThreeBot. And I can, of course, share that information with others if
I choose
I
to.
choose to, indeed.
Right.
But not by default. I subscribe to some program, etc., where there are big giants that use this data for doing some calculations and get rich from it. This is a well, yeah, but basically that's what's happening, right?
So you guys have done some work on a e-wallet, a digital wallet of sorts. You've incorporated.
Well, this digital wallet, it's holding TFT, and indeed, it's also the key to access it is your private key. But it's the same key. Well, you can derive keys, etc. But that's again a technological thing about security, etc. But you can make derived keys also. But basically, it's the same. Let's assume it's the same key that also gives access to the programs that you run and to the interactions that you make with others, etc. There's
Right.
a digital key that you have to hold, and that can a wallet. Basically, it's no more than an IT application. It's nothing more than that has access to some blockchain where these tokens are registered. That's about it.
Which is the whole business concept right there in a nutshell, is a ledger. You need to have records, and then you want to consolidate those records and simplify them. So you put all your keys in a keychain and it's organized, prioritized according to like where you visit the most frequently, for example. And some you can go, okay, well, I'm not going to authorize this key usage at nighttime when I'm asleep, right?
And I mean, there's two applications.
Go ahead.
There's two applications of the ThreeBot. The one application is your digital ID, which we then call, I think it's now called ThreeFold Connect, if I'm correct.
ThreeFold Connect basically is the application where your key is held. But it's the point to your digital life. But it's
yes. And that's your private key. And then there's an additional application which is on the actual physical infrastructure where the ThreeFold platform actually runs on as well.
I'll explain that. With that key, you can do whatever you want. And there we choose to build a full grid of infrastructure on which you connect. And basically you have your login on that operating system, let's say, where you can launch your workloads, your applications, your social media apps, your chat rooms, your email server, whatever, any application that runs on the Linux can run there as well. So, but it's all around you and not around this big tech corporation. It's all around you. You choose to build a mail server. You choose to have it's really cool. You have Zoom here now, but also there, Zoom goes to centralized servers of the Zoom corporation somewhere, I don't know where. Well, we have a video chat application. It runs basically on one browser specifically. This is why we don't make too much noise about it. It now runs stable on Google Chrome, but it simply makes a connection from me to you. And in our case here, we are with three. It will make connections with between 3 points, but there is no central corporation receiving and sending all the signals of this video. This is basically, well, I can share
Hold on, let me
If
make
you
sure
allow-
the share screen is for multiple first. Okay, now it's set up, you can share.
I have to find the, because we have already quite some applications up and running that can run on our grid that we have taken basically from the internet, open source applications. Where is it here? Yeah. Maybe you know some of them. Centralized project management tool, decentralized office. Tool Mattermost is open source collaboration tool. A website, a wiki, Discourse is a forum, open source YouTube called PeerTube, the video chat I just talked about. Gitty is like decentralized GitHub. You're aware about GitHub?
Very cool.
Yeah, it's
Very
so
cool.
you share with your peers on code that does not have to reside in a central repository again. A decentralized CRM tool that you can deploy your own virtual spaces. And then, of course, we have also quite some blockchain projects that are coming in, and that it's really in the mind also of these blockchain organizations to become as decentralized as possible. And they see us as an alternative because I don't know whether you know, but 60 to 70% of all blockchain nodes of Ethereum, I believe, runs on Amazon AWS. Now, this is a contradiction between the vision that these organizations have and the reality of cloud, as they all come to one central organization, and that's not how it should be. And this is why these blockchain organizations specifically are having a close look at us and say, oh, this is like the missing piece of the puzzle. But
right.
we don't want to be exclusively there for blockchain organizations. We believe that the whole world should be more equal and more with like the physical world. I mean, there is not one big organization that is putting us all together in one box physically. Why should it be the case digitally? I mean, that's the same.
So how you guys are enabling the federalization of functionality through open source and the infrastructure of Kubernetes, we've been looking at it for like Great Works Alliance through the heroship stance as essentially the same thing. So many of these things that we've realized work very, very well in technology can easily be mirrored in real world concepts and relationships. So to answer your question in that, we think it's absolutely beautiful and very excited to start working with you guys more closely for, you know, with the appropriate people and teams and everything, just seeing the different ways we can collaborate and cross promote each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, this good that you're talking about it. We believe that our technology basically reflects on how nature works, because it's
Essentially
like,
biomimicry.
We once had the comparison with the human body, but could be any ecosystem basically, where there are different cells. There are blood cells that are responsible for transporting the air in the body, and then there's not one central operating system. You could say the brains, but even the brains, your body is doing stuff without the brains being aware of. So in a way, that's for me decentralization. I mean, every cell in the body has its role and can interact with others without some central dictatorship that rules them all.
Yeah.
And this is how our operating system works and how our grid works. The grid works with all different hardware pieces of capacity, all equal, and well, yeah, you choose the ones that are closest to you, or you choose the one that is most apt to meet the requirements in terms of compute capacity or storage or whatever. But yeah, it's like the internet. The original ideas of the internet were also to have some equal network, and well, the network is still okay, but we believe that storage and compute, etc., well, these have been centralized, and there are about 20 organizations in the world that own more than about 80% of the data, which is not good. You have the Amazons, the Googles, a few Chinese. Yeah, and this is not how it should be, because they abuse it.
Kind of comes back to protocols, doesn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, it comes back to protocols. Yeah.
I want to add to what Geert also said. I mean, when he spoke about the essence of that it's decentralized, I mean, he used the example of the application, but the connection is not from your app, your components, your device to a centralized environment and then back to the other individual. It is almost like a point-to-point, a peer-to-peer connection. So whenever you're using the application and using it with somebody else that's also on the same application that you are at, and you communicating with them, it is not going by, it's going to the closest point to where they are accessing that application. And that could be anywhere on the grid. So if they are based in wherever in Europe and you guys are based in the States and you're busy chatting to them, the closest access point for them would be the closest device that's on the grid where the application resides. And then from there, it would go directly to you. You know? And nobody is in control of that data. Nobody's owning it. Nobody is storing the data. That's why it also refers to a serverless type setup and a zero OS type setup. That's key in terms of the underlying elements that actually comes out. So I think that is important to be aware of.
So if I'm hearing you correctly,
if that device is gone, your data isn't gone because the data doesn't sit on that physical device. Yeah.
If I'm hearing you correctly, does that mean that you guys are putting quite a load on, or quite a focus on Webpack, using the functionality of it for client side, like Webpack 5, for example?
Yep.
Okay.
Well, and anything can work on it, but we don't have particular references and on. Well, we should be able to run, and preferably open source, but any application that is really working in a peer-to-peer setup, we accommodate, basically. And
that's awesome.
The problem so far with until now is that well, it's also held up a bit by the limited number of IP addresses, basically, because everybody should have a IP address, but the technology is IPv6, which has like 10 to the power 34 or 38 addresses. So basically that problem has been solved as well. And we have a connection to IPv4, so that is not an issue either. Basically, yeah, there are more addresses than there are stars in the universe. So we won't be blocked by that.
Profiling.
Okay.
Are
you going to discover more, or how do you intend to check now on how Great Works Alliance could take benefit of our grid? You have a plan in mind, or how do you see that?
Yeah, I'm really excited to take more of a deep dive into everything and learn more about it, get some other people involved. not just from Great Works Alliance, but like Mark Kane of Open World Alliance. And I don't know if you guys have interacted with Reiki of Seeds. We're looking forward to hopefully connecting with him soon. And
didn't we do a project with Seeds, Geert?
Sorry, can we?
Didn't we do a project with Seeds?
Yes, well, I wasn't involved with that, but I've seen it passing. Yes, indeed, Seeds.
So yeah, so we did do something with Seeds. So they've also done some work with ThreeFold as well. Sorry, Nate, you were going to ask.
You have the Alliance for a Conscious Internet, huh? Conscious.
There's a number of the networks all interweaving and having multiple names for different projects and everything. This is one of the areas the federating concept really is key. Is okay, we've got lots of different names. What's the description and function? How is it being iterated? That's probably a more consolidated or of a laser focus for us to all focus on, rather than being distracted or confused by the multiple names.
I agree, but I wanted to show this Alliance for a Conscious Internet as all the parties involved were in there. Well, it's ThreeFold, and then
Crystal Twin, I recognize that
project. The Artheon is really cool. Yeah, it's like the biggest museum in the world, virtual reality museum. And then
awesome.
Believe, Digibyte, Crystal Home, Self-Sufficient Homes, Share It, and Housework Prosperity.
These Seeds.
Here you see Seeds, indeed. Regenerative financial system for a thriving global society, aligning radical empowerment of purpose with finance. Humanized internet. There again, it's about giving a digital identity to the underserved individuals. This one awesome. I like well, yeah. The Crystal. Yeah, so Unit Ventures. It's quite also it's about how is it put conscious internet, and the idea here is to build things on top of the grid with many use cases, indeed, for the good, for the benefit of the people and our planet Earth. This is what it's all about. And it's Christoph is the wife of our founder that is leading there a lot.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, have a look. It's really nice. Think about the Christoph. He's a CEO of ThreeFold Tech. There are also a few, Lawrence Bloom, apparently he's kind of well known also. The Earth Foundation. Have a look.
We will definitely look into that.
This is amazing, guys.
Have a look, and well, yeah. If any question, let us know, and let's see what we can do together. That's it.
Yeah, let's figure out when's good for whoever we want to bring together to get a setup started. Do you have anybody set up right now that might be available within the next few days for a tutorial and walkthrough? I'll see what we can do to get Forrest available, since he's kind of directing that area. We'd love to get up and running as soon as possible, whenever we can get everybody fitted together for what works with them.
Okay. Geert, who would be the right person? Would it be somebody like you, or would it be somebody like Vedant? Or
depends on the subject. I'm more into the technical stuff. Vedant is more overarching.
Yes.
I must say that until the end of the month, I'm quite busy. I must say, but okay. I can
look. Tell me what you tell me the ideas and the things that you want to focus on, and I will make sure that the right resources are made available through the proper channels and getting whoever needs to be involved in a tutorial. So if you say to me, look, we need more information about this specific thing or that specific thing.
There is already extensive documentation on our wikis. Be aware of that. So,
I'll send you the link to the wikis as well, and then you guys can go and sort through that. I'll also send you some other links that you can also go and look at, and then just go and power through that, and then come back with potentially with some details in terms of, we've seen this, we don't understand this, can somebody explain this kind of detail more to us so that we can be further aligned and understand what it is that we need to do.
Okay. Yeah, Forest has about 3 servers set up on tiered levels for like RAM and power, storage, all that good stuff. And
so interesting enough, we can audit that infrastructure for you. We can tell you, look, that infrastructure looks like this. This is what the ThreeFold, what you need in addition. Right. And then we can get our guys to actually load the ThreeFold platform on top of that infrastructure. And then you can be participants in the grid. And that's effectively it.
Awesome. Okay, so after that, we would be going towards modeling and consolidation of the data we have for our research, for example. That would be our next primary project that we're working on. And it's not just us, we're working in conjunction with a bunch of other groups and networks. And we would definitely love to get any kind of input that you guys want to provide on it as well.
So just from, and again, this is a little bit technical, but one of the things that ThreeFold has done over the last, I want to say, it's probably now the last 6-7 years, is the algorithms in terms of how it uses CPU, the algorithms in terms of how it uses RAM, the algorithms in terms of how it uses storage, that has been optimized. So whatever capacity you have, and you think, oh, I'm going to require X amount of RAM and X amount of CPU and X amount of storage, ThreeFold makes better use of that infrastructure. So it gives you at least an additional 40% on top of that.
Right.
So depending on the workload that you're actually running. So if you're talking about data modeling and things like that, again, you know, if it can run in a container, then ThreeFold is the platform to actually use, for that. So
we optimized basically because well, we had to rebuild that operating system from scratch, and we saw that in IT industry there's quite a lot of habits to build things on top one of the other. So you build something and it doesn't work, well, let's build something on top. Oh, it still doesn't work, let's build something on top. When you redo things happen way more efficiently, basically, because the number of useful instructions
have been reduced, have actually been optimized.
Yeah, and a container is already an advantage compared to a virtual machine. I'm happy that the IT industry is following as well, because virtual machine is basically an operating system running in an operating system, and in there is an application. But what percentage of the code that is executed is actually useful? Well, not a lot, right? As it's quite a lot of operating system code that is running.
I think we all kind of know the joke about Windows in the boot time comparison between like Windows and Unix. Like, it doesn't make sense to go ahead and reread 2,000 or 200,000 lines of code just to go, hey, I'm awake now, everything's available, rather than like, let's look at an image and what's changed. Okay, nothing's changed, everything's checked off, we're done, you're ready. So then we got a difference of like maybe an 8-second boot time compared to 8 minutes. I've never understood that. Like, oh my God. See this thin hair? That's all their fault, mostly. And I'm not a coder either. I'm just an enthusiast.
Okay, I have to jump off. I'm sorry, guys. Well, yeah. Hope to see you soon.
Nate, I'll send you guys the links. You guys
Okay.
work through that. Come back and say, look, these are the things we'd like to tackle. I'll set up the different conversations that you need to have.
Okay, go check out the website and the manual that we dropped in the Telegram chat at your leisure,
Okay.
when you're not busy.
Yes.
And please don't apologize because you got other stuff you got to do.
We're all very busy
We're
working
flexible.
as hard as we can to get things working in society. And it's really great that you guys have put this part together. Thank you.
Okay.
Awesome.
Have a great guy.
Thank you very much, guys. Cheers.
Okay.
Peace out.
Cheers.